Welcome back to the Fantasy Football Veteran Series by Fantasy Football Hub. So in the first video in this series, we met former Sky Fantasy winner Dan Cox. If you missed it, the link is in the description below. In this video, we're going to concentrate a little more on fantasy football as we take you back through your early fantasy years, Dan. So Dan, welcome back. And what are your first memories of fantasy football?
Yeah, like I said in our previous video, I remember the 95-96 season, seeing the player lists in Shoot or Match magazine, and that was sort of like, what was this, and trying to pick a team in budget, and that sort of got me a bit intrigued. But I then I started work pretty early, like by about 16 I was in full-time work, so I was busy. But anyway, came to the 2000 season, and then I was a chef. Most of them are like, they've got drink problems or gamblers or whatever, so do you know what I mean? They said, "Oh, Sun Dream Team, £20 in for the season." I'm like, oh, fantasy football, right? Yeah. So again, it was like, right, let's get the Sun. Someone would bring the pull-out in, they'd photocopy it, you'd have a copy, and you were to, pick your team, hand your 20 quid into your head chef, and, he'd add the points up each week, blah, blah, blah. So it was that 2000 really getting back into Dream Team, and that's when I then thought, well, I'll do this, and that was when you then had to, you had to ring up their premium rate number at like, don't know how much pound it was. I think it was £1 a minute, but you were on the phone for about 7 minutes, sort of doing your team. I remember the old man going nuts that spent £7 on picking this team. Because you'd then type in your 3-digit code for your players. So you're there like Nigel Martin, 007. Yeah. What defender would? And then it's like 0-5, and it would take forever, wouldn't it, sort of thing. So yeah, 2000 really. I just, from seeing it then as a kid, but yeah, it was Dream Team was sort of my early one. What I'd do, and then Telegraph, I'd do that, as we spoke, like your postal transfers, and that was it for a long time really. Mainly just the Sun. The Telegraph I'd always sort of lose interest in because that was more full on, whereas Sun was just 2 transfer windows a year. Yeah. So you could pick your team in August. I think there's a transfer window in November or something like that. Then like November, I'll have a look again. Then that was it. I think I did enter him in the Sun like official comp, but you didn't really pay much attention to it. It was just a bit of fun to try and win some money off the boys at work, sort of thing. And I was pretty good, and I did win them. And that was that was mainly just getting money off my workmates. That was an easy way for me to get some money off my mates and workmates. So I then ran the Sun League at work, and you're trying to get every extra person I could get in, an extra 20 quid as an extra more money that I was going to have in May. So then I'd go, you go down to your pub, you go and, who wants in on this? And 20, you know that. They might as well just give you £20. Do you know what I mean? Be like, yeah, come on, and you win it all. And I think then towards I think it was like, I've won it for quite a long time, 10 years or so, and then they banned me from being in it. Do you know what I mean? So you're like, God. So I was like, I had to then that's when I sort of discovered FISO and other enthusiasts or whatever, and it's like, actually need to, as I can't enter my local pub and stuff, I'll have to do the national tournament sort of thing and try to win that or do something in that, which just seems like a madness to like, how are you going to, in the Sun, how are you going to beat 1 million people? And, other games at the Telegraph, I don't know what the figures were for that, but they must have had a good 300,000 or so, I should think. How are you going to win that? It's just a sort of pipe dream, isn't it? So, yeah.
I'm laughing as well because your story is very similar with my one as well. It was kind of exactly the same, roughly the same age. As you entered the works when you realise after you've got a bit of a knack for it, and then they were all like, "Oh, I'm not going to bother next year." I was like, "No, come on, I'll run it." But obviously in those days as well, it was all pen, paper, and calculators and a spreadsheet if you were particularly technically advanced.
I used to do the Monday morning shift. They'd put me on the Monday morning shift at work. Because we'd do nothing, there'd be no one in Monday morning. But I could then spend 45 minutes, because I'd buy the Sun on the Monday morning with all the player ratings.
Yeah.
So you could then go through like, oh yeah, fucking Van Nistelrooy, 2 goals, 10 points, Starman, and up to 5 points. Oh, and the rating, so it's 18 points for that. Yeah. So what do you mean? So you'd be adding it all up. But yeah, you think, God, I say now it's just all done for you, isn't it? Like, it is. The amount of time I spent adding up points and. Yeah, crazy, mate.
in the day, wasn't it? So what is your best fancy football moment ever, Dan? If I bear in mind you've had a few, but what is your best ever one?
So I might surprise people. It's not winning Sky. It was actually when I came third in Dream Team, and that was 2012-13. Because, and I'll tell you why that's my favourite, because I've sort of been there and thereabouts, I don't know, from about Christmas time I was top 10, then, 8th, 7th, sort of hovering around that. The leader he had a Liverpool block, and they went on, I don't know, 10 games without conceding, so his 100 points or so clear. So I knew first, the 100,000 was gone. Mm-hmm. But then I think second was 40 grand, third was 20 grand, then it was something like 3 and 2 for fourth and fifth. And so I'd been up there quite, all this sort of time. Then it comes to the last sort of month or so, I dropped down to fifth. I'm like, I'm going to get all that, you're going to get 2 grand or something, that's guttering. And that was the season. Like Walcott, especially young people listening, millennials and that, Walcott, he actually got 20 goals in this season, and I didn't have him. And that was last day of the season, I was fifth. You could see what everyone else's team was. You could just click to see, I knew who people had. So I went into that last day of the season, I knew what I needed. I needed Walcott not to score, and I had Sorensen in goal. Played for Stoke. Stoke used to be a Premier League team. So I had him in goal. I think that was mainly it. Then most of the other players were the same. They were the sort of the differentials we had. And I was still fifth with about 5 minutes to go. I can't remember if Arsenal were away at Newcastle. And everyone expected Arsenal to win. I think they did win. I'm not sure. But anyway, I avoided the game because I thought Walcott's going to score. And I flicked on in the 85th minute, and he was going clear through, hit the post or something, came out, and I thought, oh my God, that's relief. And I was sort of trying to work out the points, because players, if they got a 7 or more, got 3 points. Yeah. I'm trying to work it out, and I do forget he was in the team, because that was 7 years ago. And I always said, once the season's finished, I do try to then sort of get that out of my head, think about the next. But anyway, so I was fifth, and I'm thinking, I should be fourth. Am I going to get third? I basically needed Walcott not to score. I think they had Kone from Wigan, because they were in the cup final, so he had an extra game. And anyway, I had Sorensen, and when I was kept refreshing the scores in the Sun online, and it came up, Sorensen got star man. I think they drew 1-1 away to Southampton or something. And he got star man, and that got me third. So it was yes, 20 grand. You're thinking, I'm looking at 2 grand, and then it's you just look at, because some reporter had said he was the man of the match. It's 20 grand. You just with Walcott missing that, hitting the post, and your heart was going. Whereas when I won Sky, I'd been top for a while, and it was sort of a bit of an anticlimax. I was just sort of counting down each day. I knew who second had in his team, and who the other players had, because I'd screenshot the table each day, so you know who people had. I had Kane, Lukaku, Sanchez, and they all scored 25 plus goals that season. And there was, if you had that, no one else could really do anything. So that, I know that was better because I won, but that was no big sort of yes, that was just that's done result. And
euphoria
before, it was at a kid's birthday party that day. And we got there. One of my mates, he said, "This party's shit. I can't be here. Let's go down the pub." I said, "Yeah, we'll go to the pub if you want." I said, "I'll get the beers." And he said, "Oh, result." I said, "Yeah, well, I'm going to pick up about 50 grand today, so I can get you a beer." And it was like that. And I think we'd started walking down to the pub. That's 10 minutes by kickoff, and maybe we had got there. But within about 5 minutes being in the pub, Harry Kane had scored twice, and he was my captain. So I was like, "Yeah, that's no one can," because I would have needed something like Kane not to score, and Gabriel Jesus to get a brace or something, and he didn't do it. And Lukaku scored against Arsenal, and Sanchez scored against Everton. They were playing each other, and that was done. So it was it was more just yes, finally, that is one. Get the money transferred over. It wasn't a big sort of if you won the lottery, in that sort of sudden. It was just a bit of a cool. I've won. Knew I was brilliant. Get the money sent. So. That's why the Sun coming third rates higher than the win in the Sky.
So you've mentioned winning 20 grand, winning 50 grand. How much have you won over the years in fantasy football then, Dan? Roughly.
I did try to track it down, right? And I know I sound arrogant and I'm a bit, but I don't know. I think it's about just over 100 grand. I used this. It was quite handy because the Sun used to send you checks. I don't know if you ever had one, but Sun used to send you a check. See what I mean? So you'd get an A4 bit. The bottom bit would be your check for 20 grand, 5 grand, 10 grand, whatever. And the top bit would be like, well done, Dan, I'm coming third. Here's your check, signed, Dave, or whatever. So I used to keep those. I've got them all up somewhere in a file, but I used to have all them. And Daily Star, I came quite high in the Daily Star one year before they scrapped that.
Yeah.
So I used to keep all these sort of checks. But the Sun one year, they got terrible. They used to do a weekender.
Yeah.
That was just a free for you. You could enter 5 teams into it. They do a weekender now, and it's 1 team. And I'm sure it used to be. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's right. You could enter 5 teams, but you picked a whole 11. So I just did. 1 team would be Liverpool block, 1 would be Spurs block, United block, so on and so on. And I must have won like, I don't know, 2 grand or 3 grand, 2.5 grand. One. So it was a grand if you won the weekender, but 100 quid if you finished in the top 100.
Yeah.
Well, I was finishing top 100 every other week. Do you know what I mean? Like, so you get so many checks coming in, won it a couple of times, and I remember waiting like 9 months for a check. They were just getting so behind because they were having to process so many checks. So I don't know. I won a couple of phase prizes at the 2012 Sun Euros. They were 5 grand each. I was with another group of blokes. There was about 20 of us before that, before I started doing stuff on my own. But we would all just enter loads of teams and split it all between us. And God knows how much money we had, but it was split between 20 of you. But since I sort of been involved in other bits, since me, I'd say 100 grand, I think, but I couldn't put an exact figure on it. But a decent wage anyway, pay most of the mortgage off and have
Pretty
a
good.
nice life.
It's funny as well because I'm a member on Fiso, obviously not as active as I used to be, but I used to see this guy on there, this Mad Dog guy, and I used to follow him and his comments and his posts, and he'd talk about things. And then I was on Twitter and obviously having a chat with you about things, not realising that you were actually the same person. It was it was quite bizarre for a year or so. I was talking to you in different. Thinking you're a different person, but you were the same person all the time.
That was mad because I'd always sort of done the work leagues with mates and stuff, and I'd seen this FISO because you'd sort of, you could be, playing with your mates down the pub or who you work with. They're no competition, like especially back 10 years ago. Things are probably a bit trickier now because there's so much information out there, like what we do with the hub. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? And stuff like that. Like someone might be playing Sky, and they're on to us on the hub, and they read the articles, this, that, and the other, but they might be playing another 5, people who don't invest that much time into looking for it. So they're going to be, but the amount of information there is now compared to back then. So yeah, when I found FISO, I was like, oh my God, what is this? And I remember like following people like Andy Luckhurst.
Yeah.
He'd won Telegraph, I think, at least once, maybe.
He's won it twice,
he'd always be up there sort of thing. And you're like, why does he get to speak to this guy? Like, how was he? What? And do you know what I mean? And other people like Terry Gridley, he'd won he'd won Sun.
Yeah.
And it was just mad because when I entered Sun, like I remember in 2000 ringing up, enter my 1 team, and that was it. But I sort of, by speaking to them guys, you realise that people were then entering 20 teams, 30 teams,
that's right,
50 teams, covering options, doing it like, spread betting, or I don't know, but they'd cover the options. They'd have a Liverpool block, and you think, oh right, so yeah, I had a pretty good season in that 2000 with the Sun. I was like top 100 or something. I was pretty close. I'm like, wow, like I saw it. That's when I cleaned up my work league, and they're like, what? Like, but I was actually nationally, I was like 100th or so, maybe just out the top 100 because I had a load of Leeds players. I don't know why, and that was the season like Viduka scored 17. That's when Leeds got to the Champions League semi-final. Do you know what I mean? So yeah, I just had like Viduka, even like Lee Bowyer. He scored 11 goals or something. I had him. Alan Smith got a load. Viduka. They were just, I just don't know. That was what's the point? What we're talking about? But then FISO, like so. But yeah, when you then discover these other people, you're like, wow, like these are. You sort of learn the tricks of the trade off these people, and that's where I'd sort of spent all this time talking to them and playing fantasy football. And I'd say there's no sort of quick way to it is that you have to sort of learn your trade. So
exactly
by
right.
speaking to these people that have done well, and you sort of think, oh right, yeah, get a bit more understanding, and I've sort of been guilty in the past, like especially Telegraph, like smashing for your transfers and just doing them for the sake of it, really, when you should be looking at the fixtures and the extra games and this, that, and the other. I say it's quite full on now, isn't it? Like fantasy football, you've got so many like, is he going to rest any players? And they've got this game coming up, and the amount of stats and graphs and things you can look at now is just it's full on, isn't it? FIFA was really, really popular, wasn't it? Like in the early 2000s and stuff like. But that's a bit quieter now. Like I personally don't really get on. I don't really go on there much now, to be honest. I'm mainly on Twitter, so that's where we're getting more interaction. Like the Sky threads on FIFA are pretty non-existent. There's not a lot going on there, but I can go on Twitter and on a Saturday and Sunday, Jesus, like you get so many questions and stuff. Like it's that, like that's hard when I've got the kids at home and stuff. Do you think the weekend's not my time to be answering questions? I try to say to people, if you've got a question, send it to me Monday to Friday when I got a bit more time on my hands. Do you know what I mean? On my lunch hour when I've got nothing else to do. But on a Saturday and Sunday when I'm trying to sort out my team, kids, wife and stuff. But yeah, I think Twitter's the main, like, is the busiest place now, like, for everything. But yeah, FIFA was just to sort of find this online community where there's everyone just as mad on fantasy football as you, and you're like, God, like, it's pretty good. And to test yourself against the best players, like, that is the only way you are going to get better is, do you know what I mean, trying to beat these people that are top of the game.
And that's the hub now, mate. That's why we're all on Fantasy Football Hub. Okay, so in the next video, I will be asking Dan about how he did something that not many people have managed to do, to actually win a fantasy game when he won Sky Fantasy Football. The link for this video is in the description below.